Hello, and this is the first in a sequence of videos about the English Literature AQA paper for GCSE. During the course of each of the videos, what I'll do is I'll be giving out a few top tips for you. So I'd suggest you pause this video at the moment and make sure that you've got a few blank flashcards that you could create as we go through based on the top tips to make sure that you're not watching this passively, but that you're taking on board the key things that I'm going through. And I'll remind you of my top tips at the end so that you can create those flashcards. So you'll notice on the front page, this is paper 1 for English literature. There are 2 papers and I'll do separate videos on paper 2. Paper 1 focuses on Shakespeare and section B of paper 1 is the 19th century novel. So for our students, that means Macbeth and A Christmas Carol. Obviously, if you're studying for this paper in other schools, there are a number of other texts that you may well have studied. My first top tip is based on this piece of information over here. You have an hour and 45 minutes overall to complete this paper. And we're advising our students to spend about 50 minutes on section A and about 50 minutes on section B. And that means that you've got some time left to make sure that you check for your assessment objective for content, and that relates to your use of vocabulary, your use of sentence structures for clarity, your grammar, and your accuracy of spelling and punctuation. There are 4 marks available for this aspect of your response in section A. That's not to say that you shouldn't make sure that in section B you're looking at those things too. Each of the questions are worth 30 marks plus the 4 for section A for spelling, punctuation and grammar. As you move through the paper, you'll come to the contents page. And here's my next top tip. I've come across a few students in the past who have not read the instruction on the front of the paper that you need to only answer 1 question from section A and 1 question from section B. And they've ended up answering questions on different texts that they haven't even studied or the wrong text. So my second top tip is to make sure you know before you walk into the exam where your text is going to appear in the paper. For our students, that's relatively simple with section A, nice and straightforward, Macbeth comes first. And for section B, you have to flick through the Jekyll and Hyde question to get to the Christmas Carol section. So walk in with more confidence, make sure that you know where your texts are going to appear. So if you flick through the paper, yeah, nice and easy. Shakespeare's first. You scroll through all of the other questions after you've responded to Macbeth. We're not answering these, and we end up getting to the 19th century novel section. Section B, we have to go past Jekyll and Hyde and find A Christmas Carol. Scrolling back up to the top, as we go past these other questions, you'll notice that there's a box on each of the tasks, and that box contains the extract that you're responding to from the text that you've studied. The extracts tend to be of a very similar length. So you're looking in Shakespeare section at about 20 lines of text from whichever play you've studied. Each of the tasks in the Shakespeare section and in the 19th century novel section have a little bit of blurb at the top here that explains which section of the text it comes from. Then you have the extract, and the third element of the text of the task is the question itself, plus how many marks you get. Now, there are 3 main question types which appear in this paper, and you can categorize the questions into either character questions or theme questions or combination questions. And that's actually my third top tip, is to make sure you know the 3 question types. So again, you're feeling more confident before you go in. You know it's going to be one of these three types of questions. So what does that look like in practice? Well, a character question, unsurprisingly, will name a character. So we've got 3 examples here. Starting with the speech, explain how Shakespeare presents Macbeth, or Lady Macbeth, or the witches. The second type of question is a theme question. And here we've got 2 examples, a theme or an idea that runs through the whole text, could be ambition, it might be supernatural. There are many, many different ideas, obviously, that run through Macbeth. The third type of question I've identified is a combination question. And it has that name because it combines a theme, here the supernatural, and a character, Macbeth. Once you know the question types, it's much easier to identify what the examiners are looking for you to find quotations about in the extract and in the rest of the play or novel. Going back to our exam paper now, we can see here that this question is asking you to look at Lady Macbeth, the character, and how powerful she is as a woman, as presented by Shakespeare, and powerful, or power itself, would be our theme. Now here's my fourth top tip. It's really important that you read the whole of this task here, as well as the whole of the extract and the little bit of blurb at the beginning. And that's because if you don't read all of those things, then you may well miss something. For example, if you were to just read the 2 bullet points at the end here, you would just think that this question were asking you generally about Lady Macbeth. Whereas in fact, if you read this part of the question, you're given an additional clue. So what we're actually looking for here is how Shakespeare presents Lady Macbeth as a powerful woman. And if you miss this section and just talk about Lady Macbeth generally, then you won't be fully focused on the question. Okay, so let's run through those top tips again. First top tip, make sure you're spending 50 minutes on each of the questions so that you leave yourself 5 minutes for checking for your spelling, punctuation and grammar. So grab a flashcard and jot down on one side how long should you spend on each question, and on the other side you can jot down exactly what it says on the screen there. Top tip 2, make sure you've checked out the contents page before you start answering. Check which your extract is, and then only answer the question on your set text. So on another flashcard, you could jot down, where are my set text in the paper for paper 1 lit? And on the other side, you could find a copy of one of the papers and jot down wherever your extracts will be. Third top tip, check that you've read the whole of the question and not just the bullet points. And what you might do here is create a flashcard that says on one side, what are the elements of the question for Macbeth? And on the other side, you could jot down blurb, extract, task, bullet points. 4 sections for the task. And the last top tip is to make sure you know what the different question types are for the Shakespeare question and their character, theme, and a combination question. So, last flashcard, flashcard 4, what are the 4 question types for Macbeth or Shakespeare? On the other side, character, theme, and combination. There you go. There's your first 4 flashcards. Pop them in your pack and carry on and watch the next video. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.